Hello everyone, this is Varish here and welcome to our new chapter after a long break, Reproduction in Plants. So, due to some important things, we had taken a break, and so here we are with a fresh new chapter, which is Reproduction in Plants. It is going to be a very interesting chapter. So, before we start any chapter, we come up with some questions, and by answering those questions, we start up the chapter. So, once again, I welcome you to Reproduction in Plants Day 1. So, let's go to the next slide. What is reproduction now? So, now we have a few questions in our mind before we start this chapter. Each human has got one life and many stages in it. First, we are born, then we grow into kids, then we are teens, then we are young adults, then we become adults, and then we become old, and then we die. Each human is born, he grows, and he dies. No one can cheat death. There have been many trials to escape death, but it comes to each and every person. No one can cheat it. One has to take birth and one has to die. If one generation closes its curtains, if one generation dies in this world, the another generation is just stepping to see this world. But how is the new generation coming? If we are unable to escape death, how are the species still alive? Is the one question. Because if people die, then all the type of organisms in this world must have completely and utterly vanished. So, but how are the new generation coming? Is there something like a big ball falling from where a new generation is coming? It's nothing like that. But how are they coming? And secondly, why some species have gone extinct? Why are they extinct? And why are some species alive and some species extinct? Is another question. So, to answer these questions, let us know what reproduction is. Reproduction is the survival of or continuation of species. So, the process in which we continue a species is called reproduction. Now, reproduction is done through many ways. Basically, reproduction is nothing but you make a copy of your own kind. And how is that copy done? It's a very complex process. So, from this, we know that just organism of our same kind, like us, a human like a human, a polar bear like a polar bear, and a lion like a lion. So, same species organisms coming from a person or coming from an organism is called reproduction. Every living being must reproduce for the survival of their species. Now, here comes the answer. We thought, how is the species alive? If everyone was to die one or the other day, then each and every living organism must have vanished by today. But no, each and every living organism has the capability of producing a copy of its kind, so that once the living organism dies, the copy is the next generation and survives. So each and every organism reproduces. Some organisms are extinct today because they were not able to adapt to the surroundings. Some organisms like mammoths, they were not able to adapt to the changing environment. From the ice age to the normal age, they weren't able to change some of the features to live, and that is why they died and eventually became extinct. So now reproduction is a process in which we are able to create a copy, and that's what we know till now. So, in this chapter, we will take a look at how reproduction takes place in plants, how plants produce a copy of themselves, how are there many varieties of plants, and there is not only one organism in each and every species, there are hundreds and millions. So, how is this happening? We will take a look in this chapter, reproduction in plants. So, before we know about reproduction and stuff, we know what a plant is, we know what its basic structure is, and we know something about photosynthesis from our first chapter. So, we have an idea what a plant is. We know about some of the parts like xylem, phloem. We also know about photosynthesis and much more. And we have even studied much more deeper about it. But even we know the parts of a plant cell, but Over here, now let me tell you, a plant has mainly two kinds of cells. Mainly, if we classify the cells based on reproduction, then we get two types of cells: vegetative cells of the plant and sex cells of the plant. Now let's take a look at vegetative cells. In vegetative cells of the plant are the cells which do not have the capability of reproducing, which means that these cells are just idle. They do not have, they are used for other functions except making a copy. So for making a copy, it means we are producing a new life, and it is a very complex process, and that process requires a lot of cells, lot of tissues, and lot of things. And vegetative cells are not used for that. Vegetative cells are used for all other rest of the purposes except reproduction, whereas sex cells are only used for reproduction. But what happens sometimes is that the vegetative cells also give rise to new plants, and that's what we call vegetative reproduction, which we'll see later. And it happens only sometimes, and in a few cases vegetative propagation takes place, and we'll see how that happens. But mainly we need to know that plant has two types of cells: vegetative cells, in which the vegetative part of the plant have the vegetative cells, and they are not used for reproduction, and sex cells, they are used for reproduction. Now, if we take the reproduction in plants, a plant has mainly two types of reproduction. So we have seen what reproduction is, and we have seen what are the types of cells basically. And now let's see that plant has mainly two types of reproduction: asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Now, asexual reproduction is the reproduction that takes place through the vegetative parts of the plant, or maybe it's like it doesn't involve it. There are some differences, but to briefly explain asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction involves two parents fusing to form an entirely different baby which has some genomes of the parents. So what is the help of the sexual reproduction is that through the sexual reproduction, as the male and female features have fused to form another life, they are one step ahead of the previous generation. But asexual reproduction takes place when the organisms cannot mate with another one to form a baby. So what they do is they divide themselves into two babies, and these babies aren't one step ahead, nor they are different from their parents. They are just the copies. Like how a printer produces the copy, it's just like the same. So asexual reproduction takes place in the plants where sexual reproduction can't take place, and sexual reproduction takes place when two cells, male and female cells, fuse. Now let's take a look at the differences between sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. In sexual reproduction, two parents are involved. As I told you, a male and a female, their gametes fuse to form a new baby, and only one parent is involved. As I told you, the parent divides into various cells. Newborns are similar to their parents. And they are similar. It doesn't mean they are same. Similar means some features are of their parents and some features are entirely different. A new generation is an identical or a true copy of their parents, and this means that it's a complete copy, 100% same like the parent. But here, some features of the parents and some features which are completely new. And 3. It requires the formation of gametes. Now, gametes formation is required because when the gametes fuse, the huge process takes place and then the baby comes out. But over here, no formation of gametes is required because once a copy is made inside the cell gets divided. Special organs for reproduction are required in the sexual reproduction, but for asexual reproduction, no special organs are required. They just need to make a copy and then divide. Examples are mango, coconut, and hibiscus for sexual reproduction, and for asexual reproduction, potato, jasmine, rose, yeast, biophyllum, etc. So this brings us to the end of the first video. So in this video we understood why reproduction is very essential for us and what exactly is reproduction. We know that we are dealing with plants, so we know what are the types of cells in plants and what is the type of reproduction. So now in the further videos what we'll be doing is we'll be taking more in-depth study of asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction, and we just got an idea like, yeah, this is this and this is that. But asexual reproduction, there are types, and there is a whole lot of process from a small cell to a baby, and that's what we'll be dealing in our future videos. Hope you learned something today from this video. Thank you for watching this, and bye bye.